Hello. was muted.
Who muted us?
I get muted.
Real fast, everybody just say what you did. Trey, what did you? Your name and then what you bought.
My name is Trey. I bought one of my ex's brand new leather jacket right before he died.
Rob, go ahead.
Okay. I'm really trying to remember. I guess I bought them a chain. Yeah, I got them a chain. Yeah.
Not that you're biased or anything.
You said what?
Not that you're biased or anything.
Not that I'm biased.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because you're wearing them right
Oh,
now.
D'Angelo and Emil.
I just like how you say it. It's like,
Okay.
that's
Make them
nothing material.
My name is Mike, and I just had an expensive trip.
Okay. Gave us up an expensive trip.
Hi, I'm Samuel, and I bought myself some braces.
And I'm Quintin, and I bought my ex an assortment of clothing.
Not a wardrobe, but an assortment of
Okay.
palettes.
Dorothy, did you want to answer? All right. And then you can take it away, Quentin.
Okay, so it's my turn. Okay. So I'm Quintin Coleman. Little background about me. I'm from Beaumont, Texas. Where Trey is from. That's where we met. We met in college. And I have a background in music. I also have a background in marketing. I moved here for grad school. I got my master's in music. And I started my career in pharmaceutical marketing. That's what I'm in now. But I started in finance before client relations, what I'm in now. And I did a whole bunch of stuff in between that. Like I lived in New York for a bit and moved back home before I came here. And that's kind of like where all of this started. Well, more so like this budgeting piece. So my mom, she owns a couple of businesses, and she's very business oriented, and so she always tried to instill these types of initiatives within my life, and I fought it because I didn't want to get. I was like, I'm young, I don't need to worry about like saving money, whatever, I'm gonna get that later. And she would always just try to drill all of this information into me, and even to this day, like she still does it. Like whenever I left Houston last week, she was like, "So are you?" And I'm like, "Girl, we just came from a funeral, and you still right." So what I'm about to share are just like little tidbits that she gives me, that she's given me, and she still gives me. I don't, by any means, proclaim myself to be like some financial guru. Like these are things tools that help me and has helped me over the years, and I'm just gonna share with you guys. So first off, I have this worksheet. So one thing that helped me, oh thank you, you're most welcome. Mm-hmm. One thing that helped me put things in perspective was to write all of my finances down on a sheet of paper. So this worksheet is just like, it's fancy. It does not have to be fancy. Like when we do this at home, you can write it on a sheet of paper of just your income, everything that you bring in, and your expenses. And a lot of these line items may not be applicable to you, but I still just listed it just to give you like some insight. So what I'm gonna have you guys do is just roughly, I'm not expecting you to like know verbatim like how much you're bringing in to the penny. Just give us an average. You don't have to disclose this to anybody in the room. This is only for your eyes only. But I just want you to see like what am I bringing in monthly. So that first line is like your income, your actual. I usually, in this case, you can round up to where you think you land monthly as far as your income. and then you go down to your home expenses, how much you spend on rent, how much you think that you spend on your electricity, water, trash, sewer. A lot of that, if we're in apartments, a lot of that is like in with your rent, so you can just put that within your rent line item here, and then you know your internet, how much you think that you would spend on that you spend monthly on groceries, gas, cell phone. Some of these you don't necessarily have to answer. I'm not like where it says long-term expenses. I'm not expecting you to like know that this is just something, an exercise for you to like write down roughly what you think. And so whenever you go home, you can get more in the nitty-gritty of it all. And then, yeah, so I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we can discuss once you finish. So I'll give you, how much you think? 3 minutes. 3 minutes, okay. And then also at the bottom where it says monthly totals, you have your total income and your total expenses. You're gonna total income minus your expenses, and that'll give you your difference. And that's how much you have left for the rest of the month for any other like expenses or any I would say like your money that could be used for other things. I'll put it that way. Oh, and then also for your income. So this is something to only put down like what you know for sure that you're bringing in. So like, I know for me, I have like side jobs, like side singing jobs that I don't necessarily get all of the time. So I usually don't put that in my income because I'm not expecting that all of the time. It's just like these one-offs. So consider that whenever you're entering in your stuff.
263. That's a lot.
It's about
That's close. No, that's not a lot. Trust me. I've seen people with damn near $1,000 or what?
Which item y'all talking about?
On top of car notes.
No.
Yeah.
And if there's an item that's not listed that you actually do have as far as expenses, you can write it in too. These are just general items.
Queen, you about to make me be real honest with myself?
That's the part.
I don't think I like this anymore.
I've been seeing people on TikTok. Oh, Lucy, you can put it right there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, I think it is.
Hey Jay, I got it.
5272.
Huh?
I don't have this much in my account right now, so I know I'm missing something.
everyone wrapped up, or you need a minute or two?
I've done enough to
Okay. And like I said, like this is just an exercise. Like when you go home and you actually like get in the
thick of things.
yeah, then it'll really open your eyes. I know for me when I first started to do this, like I really saw like where my money was going, and even my mom, she told me, she's like, you eat out a lot, like, and I still do that. Like most of my money goes to like eating out and clothes. You know, that's like full transparency. Like that's where I'm. So whenever I was writing this stuff down, I was like, dang, like I have a large percentage of my income going to just outside things that's not benefiting me necessarily. So that was the reason for this, just to give you some insight of like how you're spending your money. I was gonna touch on that too. Okay, so how do you, just off top, how do you feel as you were like jotting this information? Like, what was going through your mind, like as you was writing down your income and then take away like these expenses, costs?
I spend very irresponsibly.
Got more.
Oh, you need to know.
Like, yeah, I just had to scribble out. I don't like it being.
I can put it away.
And you know, that's okay. You know, I think we all, even I mean, I still do. My mom, who's like always about this, like she falls off. Like we all do it. We all have like our vice, as I'd say, and like I said, mine are clothes. So like that's my weak spot. Clothes and eating out. We eat all the time. Food. See. So yeah. So how do you feel about your?
I didn't feel good because I feel like I spend a lot of money. Like I usually try to spend my whole check because I just like to spend money without thinking about the future. So I'll spend money on like clothes, food, or like concerts and like trips and stuff. And like my parents always tell me about it, but I feel like I'm like young and I want to live in the moment. But right now I'm like, dang, I could have been saving all this money and I could have been doing other stuff with it. So
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Sam?
Well, I mean, since you're looking at me,
I'm just going around the room.
from there to here.
Where everybody else at the end. Everybody else around the room. Yeah. Right.
Well, I must say, I feel relieved. And the reason why I say that is because budgeting is something that I have been working on bit by bit for the longest time. And where I always get caught up is coming up with the proper categories.
Yo,
Because
look at how much I spend on. I don't know. I can't even get some groceries. I know it's gonna be wrong.
I have the type of mind where it's very difficult for me to move on structurally if I don't have what I consider to be the foundation done. It's like a thesis statement for a paper. So it would be hard for me to put a budget together because I'm like, well, I don't know what categories really count and really matter, and it was difficult for me to figure that out. But these are so in alignment with where I am. These are spot on. And I can just simply cross out what doesn't work, and I can add in what does, and I can even reproduce this on my own spreadsheet or something.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the resource.
Oh, yeah. For sure. And that's another thing. Like, you don't necessarily have to write it down. Like, we have, our Excel spreadsheets that we can, like, enter those things in. And then we can do month by month and kind of compare, like, where we've been spending versus, where we've been cutting back, and then kind of, like, reach an equal medium. So yeah, no, that's a good point. So that was my whole point with this, is because I wanted to let you see how you're spending your money versus like what you're bringing in, and then you adjust. Once you see that, then it's like, okay, I'm spending too much money on entertainment. So maybe I can take a percentage out of that and then put it in my savings. Or I actually have way more money than I thought that I was pulling in, or that I was shelling out. So maybe I can put more of that into groceries or something, wherever. Um, so, good. Another point that I wanted to make was always underestimate your income. So if your salary is pretty much more or less it's fixed, where you know exactly like how much you get every other week. If you're hourly, that's more so for hourly people. Like underestimate how much you're bringing in. Make a reasonable average amount, just so you're not overshooting whenever you don't make that, and then you like, I thought I was gonna make X, but I didn't.
Like, don't count on making overtime.
Yeah.
Because you might not always.
Always just go with base. I always say base. Don't account, like you said, bonuses or any kind of like extra. Or, like I said, I'm a musician. I never count my extra gigs into my overall income. Like, that's just added bonuses for me because that's not going to always come, And then I always overestimate my expenses. So I round up. Like for my bills, like say if I have my electricity that's $70, I overestimate. So I'll say $100 in my line item because at least I know that I'm gonna have that little $30 if for if my bill came out to be $70. So overestimate your expenses. And then differentiate your wants versus your needs. So this is hard because I feel like I need clothes. So I always I want to spend money on my clothes. But at a certain point, that's usually a want and not necessarily a need. So if you feel like you're overspending in some areas where your wants, then maybe you can shave some of that and save some of that. So I think that's a key factor that has helped me. And my mom, she even tells me now, she's like, if I ask her about, I'm thinking about buying X, and she's like, is that a want or is that a need? And I'm like, I don't want to have this discussion. I just said I wanted to buy, So I would say start with that.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about, like once you figure out like what you have, like all of those expenses that you have, what your average income is going to be, like what you can expect, and then you make adjustments. How do you find it easy or difficult to make adjustments? Like I know you did this. You had started telling us you did this whenever you were younger, before like moving up here. But like I know for me, sometimes whenever I'm like actually trying to budget, month to month, it don't always happen. But whenever I actually do sit down and do it, and I recognize, like if I'm in a bad way where I'm like, ooh, I need to be like say maybe doing something, I do find it hard to make a lot of change all at once with budgeting. Like I find that I do better and I'll stay on track more if I make small adjustments to my spending. Because then I feel like, I don't know, I guess in my mind I feel like if I make too many adjustments, I'm losing something.
No, yeah. I think that with this and anything, I think you excuse me, you start small. So you do only what you can do at that moment. So if you think you can only, save $25 or take 25 from somewhere else and start saving that 25, that's as long as you're doing something and you're stashing, and then once you get in the rhythm of things, then you can add something to it, or you can increase that to $50, and then it just compounds after that, and then say you got a promotion at work, then you can really start saving, not buying more, but saving more. And see, that's the psychological thing. Even for me, every time I get a promotion, I'm like, "Ooh, I got more money, so I can start spending even more money," But and I keep bringing up my mom. So every time I tell her, I got a promotion, she's like, save that money. So still live as though you didn't make that promotion and start stashing that. I still don't adhere to that all the time. I still spend my shit. So, but as I get older, I'm starting to observe those things, now. So, but no, do what you can now. So if you can only do a little bit, so moving to, okay, so how many of you guys have like your standard checking and your savings account? Okay, good. I say start with at least your checking and savings. Now, what type of savings? One thing that I think is very crucial, you always want to have, excuse me, an emergency fund for anything that happens. Say your car breaks down. If you have an emergency fund, you can pull money from that account. So whenever you're budgeting, always think, or I would encourage you to think to have an emergency fund. So if that savings account that you said that you have, if you want to make that into your quote unquote emergency fund, I would say do that, because that is very crucial whenever, things just pop off and then you're like, shit, I don't even have any money. I can barely, pay for my monthly expenses, and I don't have money to like take to pay for this car repair or anything that just comes out of nowhere. I had to learn the hard way with that one, because I didn't have that coming up, and I had my first car was a Jeep Liberty, and Trade knows, broke down all the time. I didn't have no money, and I was just charging the shit. I was like, well, I'm just charging, every repair, and that racks up. Plus your APR, like he's just in a hole for. So I would say do that. Always have you an emergency fund. And then there's another savings that you can have. It's called a sinking savings account, which are like a savings account where if you want to save for like Christmas shopping or vacations. But I would say that comes after you've established like your emergency fund and your checking.
Sinking, like
Yeah. So actually,
sink.
I should have passed this out to you. So this is a sheet that gives you that defines.
Oh yeah, you were.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I did it that first time.
So it defines emergency fund versus your sinking, and then it kind of gives you examples too, just to give you like perspective. And that was another thing. So I expect you to do this all at once, but get in a place where you can save at the very least 3 months worth of all of your expenses in a savings account. So, because that will also help you, say you lose your job and you don't have no money, and it takes you a while to like find a job. At least you have 3 months worth of all of your expenses in a savings account where you can pull from to get you through in 3 months. Now, as you evolve, I'd say do up to a year. That takes time, but in the beginning, start with the month's worth, and then add from there. But I'm telling you, that will definitely help you in the long run.
What's the fastest, or how do you say it? What is the fastest turnaround time you've had for like saving a large amount of money?
Like a couple of months. I have. Like if I was very disciplined. Now, granted, like there be moments where I'll pull from that and I'll spend it. For transparency, but when I'm very disciplined, yeah, I can stack.
So does discipline mean like, for example, how you keep saying like you like to buy nice clothes?
Oh,
and
I
everything?
like I literally go shopping every weekend. Like I'm in the mall every weekend. It's bad. It's bad.
So you basically discipline yourself from cutting that off?
Yeah, like I know now I know where I spend most of my money, the bulk of my money, and it's shopping and eating out. And I don't when I eat out, like I make expensive eating out. Like it's
Like fine dining.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's not always good. So who knows? So whenever I know that, like I actually just had this realization a few weeks ago. I was like, when you spend a lot of money, and we talked about this before we started this, where you swiping your card, you just like we live in a time where we just always swiping our cards. We don't really necessarily think how much am I actually spending as I'm swiping this card, And when you look at that bank statement, you go on your little app and you be like, $50 here, $60 here, $70, and that adds up. And then once you add it, you be like, damn, I can spend $500 in like a week, So
Same with online shopping.
oh, easy.
I guess them pennies really add up and you don't notice. Like you said, like when you are spending with your card or Apple Pay or whatever electronic funds that it is, like you never really pay attention until you have to divert to cash. And like you said, when we were talking about it earlier, it made me think about like how I had $30 last week in cash. And I just knew I was gonna come to this new week with $30 in cash. At least 10.
And that's a good tool, like in the beginning, to put things in perspective for you. Like, take money out of it, like withdraw X amount of money out of your account and just have it as cash. And then go through the week just spending that cash money. And you see, damn, I'm spending like, because you seeing that cash dwindling, and then by the time you get to like Wednesday and you like got $10 left, you're like, damn, I didn't spend all my shit.
That's $2. You call it St. Marty's on a Wednesday.
Yeah, so those are like that's a good tool because that actually did help me. And it
like taking cash out helped you?
Yeah, in the beginning, because like now I don't do it as much, but in the beginning I did that, just spending cash, and I was like, damn, I'm spending a lot of my cash. Now, as I swipe, after so many swipes of my card, I do check my statement and be like, okay, how much did I spend?
Stay upstairs.
I do that with if I'm like going out to the clubs and it's we on a rent check, not that good check, but that check that goes to rent. And if I'm like going out to a club or something, then I'll go and get cash out, and I'll like that's all I can spend for the night. So past that, it's somebody else buying me drinks. I mean, goal is to have somebody else buying them all night long. But if I need to use my cash,
That was another thing. So after you paid your bills, and this is like every paycheck that you get, after you paid whatever bill with that paycheck, pay yourself. We pay all these other people their money, but we never pay ourselves. And this is aside from your emergency fund. Like this is something, an extra. So if you have, and kind of back to what you were saying earlier, start small. If you pay yourself $25 every paycheck, that adds up after a while. Or if you have the wherewithal to pay for it.
what do you mean pay yourself? Like, what are you using that for?
Just for whatever you want to do.
Oh,
So if I wanted to go to the mall and buy clothes, then that's what that money is for.
it can be whatever you want to say. If you want to do that, if you wanted to have it for, a future vacation or whatever, like that's your money to do whatever you want to do with it. But stash that. Like we pay all these other people their expenses. I mean, their money. Why not pay ourselves some money as we get our income? So I would say do that. Uh, and a tool for me, a tool for me, have a cutoff as far as how much you're spending on. So I know. So for me, whenever my account gets to a certain place, I'm broke. So say for this conversation, if my cutoff is $500 in my checking, if I get to that 500, I don't have no more money. And I'll tell you, I'm broke. I may not necessarily be broke, but I'm broke as far as I'm concerned because I never want to cross that 500 threshold. I never want to go below that. And unless you just gotta dip into that, unless it's life or death. But that'll help you not have to live like from paycheck to paycheck. You'll always have something that you can fall back on. And it's a good feeling once you start to save and once you start to see those zeros add up in your account, you'll have that mental urge or that physical urge where you just don't want to cross that.
Not yet.
Because that is one big fear of mine. I never want to I don't want to live stressed that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay this next bill or my rent. Like I always want to have something in my account where if there was a glitch in the system at work and they can't pay me for another 2 weeks or something. Like, yeah, I'm gonna curse them out, but I'm gonna still have to wait until I'm adhering to, or I'm at the mercy of their system, but I still have to pay this rent. So, but I can pull that from my savings. So, it's all of this just helps you in the long run. I think that was. Oh, and then one last thing. Credit cards. So
Is it necessary to have those?
I say,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
He's done.
go ahead.
It's necessary to have good credit, and so at some point you might need a credit card to build your credit. But is it necessary to be using your credit cards? Is a different conversation. Because for some reason the world is based on credit.
Because my grandma, we just had this conversation like 2 weeks ago, and she's been asking me since I moved here, like, have I gotten a credit card yet? And I keep telling her no. And each time I tell her no, I could hear in her voice she gets pissed off even more.
Really?
Because her thing is, in her mind, I'm here by myself. Ain't nobody here. It's just me alone. So her biggest thing is, if something were to happen back home, I need to be able to have funds to get there. Or if something happens here, I need to be able to have, like you said, like some stash funds or something readily available for me to access.
Yeah.
But like I keep telling her, I know I cannot handle a credit card because I know the moment I know me, once I put that money back, yes, like Trey said, it's building credit. But I know I'm also gonna take that money right back off doing something that I probably, like I said, be at the bar.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a $5 you call it. I'll pay it back later on, y'all. Y'all helping me with my credit. But at the same time though, it's like I know that I'm not ready for that type of responsibility. I should be, but I'm not. And so I guess my question again would be like, how would one use that?
So a good way. Well, let me just stop and say that's very disciplined of you because that was
Yeah. Both of them.
I will say I've had like in in my earlier years, I worked for a credit union. I worked for banks previously. So why I've never retained and kept this knowledge with myself, I don't know. But through the first credit union that I worked for, they gave me a credit card.
Yeah.
And I used every piece of that credit card
Yeah.
that I had no business using. And I mean, I was buying. There was a lady who would come in every morning, so I bought myself breakfast. There was a lady who came in and did lunch. I bought myself lunch. Oh, you know what? I gotta go to the gas station, put it on my gas or pay for gas. So it's just like, eventually, I was like, "Ooh, shit!" Like, starting to do more with this credit card than what I need to. And then when it's time to pay it back, I'm like, "Ooh, shit! I don't have the real money to really pay y'all back for this." So now it's like it's in collections, and so I was just telling Trina the other day, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to do a consolidation loan because I just know I'm gonna be able to just consolidate everything down." Um, so I guess would the smart choice for a credit card be like to use it for like a gas or like if you're trying to get gas or like if you're a reoccurring bill? Is that the smart thing to do?
I would say yes, you could use it for that. Starting out, if you're going to charge something, always have that readily available in your checking account. So say, especially if you're trying to build credit, it's a good tool. So say I wanted to rent a car for the weekend, and it came up to $200 for the 2 days. I already have that $200 in my savings account or my checking account, so I can easily pay that off. As soon as that bill comes, I can just take that from my checking, pay that off, and then I'm flat. I'm zeroed out. We zeroed out. So
Come on, Greg.
right,
Come on,
right.
man.
So I would do that. Only charge what you can actually pay off in that next cycle. Like, don't let it add up and then you don't have it because that's when we sink. And then, they add interest. And a lot of these credit cards have like
High interest.
crazy APRs. So
One thing you might do is if you're going to get one, if you know that you can pay your bills every month at minimum, use it to pay some of those monthly bills like water, rent, something like that. But don't keep the card. Like get the credit card, put that number in for your bills, write the information down if you need to, so you have it, and then cut that card up so you can't physically use that card anywhere, and that's what you use like for your bills and stuff. And that can just be something, because the thing about having credit is it's a balancing act, because it's not just having a credit card, but it's about how many open accounts do you have for your credit. How long are those accounts open? Because they can also look bad if you open a bunch, even if you're approved for all of them. It can hurt your credit if you're opening up too many. But if you close too many, it can hurt your account as well. And so have one for like just paying your bills if you're looking to slowly start rebuilding your credit. Because if you know you can pay your bills every month at the very least, then you just pay off everything off on that credit card. But it's all like auto billed out of that credit card.
yeah.
If you're even approved for that much, because whenever I first started, that credit card, they said you get 500. And I was like, what I'm gonna do with that?
But see, at 18, 500 on the credit card.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Very true.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how much they started me with, especially because I was working for the bank. Now, once they got a hold and seen that their employee is not living up to the standards of what everyone else should be, that's when they was like, okay, like, you really got to buckle down, pay these bills back. And I was just like, okay, y'all didn't tell me that. So, and so it's just like, I thought I was really doing something. But I know as I do get older, I do want my credit to expand to be larger. And so I've been looking more towards like a secured credit card just because I know like that's my money that I'm putting into it. So how do you work a secured credit card? Doing the same thing?
I would say that. Yeah. Yeah. It's the same concept. I mean, they all work basically the same way. Yeah, for me, I only have, well, now I have two, but for the longest, I had one credit card, and I never wanted to get another, just because I know me, I know how much I like to spend. So, for anybody that's starting out, if you don't have a credit card and you want to build your credit, get that one credit card, and then spend a little bit, pay it off. Spend a little bit, pay it, because the credit bureau, they're just looking at like how you manage your spending and how much you're charging versus how much you're paying off your card. And don't pay the minimum, because they'll be like, oh, he's just paying the bare minimum. And then,
That's my next question.
That also impacts your credit score. And like Trey said, like that's like basically a lifeline nowadays. Your credit, they, these places they check your credit for everything. So keep that in mind.
I don't know. Mom and daddy put shit in our name whenever we little, before we even grown sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard that. But yeah, that's all the points that I had. Did anybody have any questions? And I also had this too.
Yeah, what questions y'all got? Please ask.
There was a question last night,
Oh, there was.
or on Tuesday in the core group meeting. Someone had asked, talking about how you budget for your.
Is eating out more beneficial? I'm about to pull it up.
Yeah.
Is eating out more beneficial than getting groceries for someone who is single?
Because we grow up and we see our families, the way that they bought like food and stuff, and it's buying so much food, you get used to that. But when you're on your own, you're not always eating all of that, and so then it goes to waste. So, what have you found? You live.
Okay, so what works for me, I'll say. So during the week, I always say I'm very boring during the week. So I work from home already. I live at home, and I go to bed early because I go to the gym early in the morning. So it's a very quiet life for me during the week. So with that being said, I cook my food also because for health reasons, because I want to eat healthy during the week. And I just buy weekly groceries. So Monday through Friday groceries, I buy just enough to get me through Monday through Friday. Because I know I'm going to eat out on Saturday or Sunday. Maybe sometimes Friday nights if this one will call me and be like, hey, what you doing?
No, wait a second.
Yeah, I'm blaming but so I would say do that. I don't have a lot of like Trey can tell you. You open my refrigerator and you be like, bitch, you don't have shit in here. Because I don't. For one, I don't want to hold on to all that food because I don't want to be tempted, and two, I don't want it to go to waste. So budget. You know how much you eat. Like budget, however much you think it would take you to get from Monday to Friday, and you cook your food. Now, if you want to eat out, you can.
That's where you pull out that credit card.
No.
Right.
No.
You just know that you're gonna be spending more because that adds up quick.
Well, and that's why when we were having that conversation, I said, whenever I eat out, because I eat like a bird, and so it don't take a lot to fill me up. And so if I'm gonna food.
I ain't saying nothing, girl.
Right. So like I will go and I'll order something because if I'm gonna go and like order a steak, I'm gonna get the big steak because there's not that much difference between the small one and the big one. but I know that I'll have food left over that I can take home. And so in my mind, part of that money was eating out, but then part of that money was groceries because I'm gonna take it home and I'm gonna eat it later, or at least that's what I tell myself. Because like a good 17, 18 ounce steak, I can eat on that on 3 different meals.
I don't
And
know
so
how.
instead of spending, you know, $30 on a steak and saying like I went out to eat and I spent $30. What I really did was I went out to eat and I spent $10 for that night, but then I also had $10 for 2 other meals.
Yeah.
And so I kind of will do it like that if I'm going out to eat a lot.
Yeah. Hey, but you good with like you stretch yours.
Oh, I'll make some leftovers and put it in the soup, honey. Okay. Get you some ramen noodles and put them leftovers in the noodles.
You do. That's so true.
Now that is one thing I can do.
Yeah.
We talk about budgeting. Get you some ramen and learn how to dress up some ramen.
No,
Okay.
I do that. You know, like the packets of tuna. I don't know if it's.
Mm-hmm.
I literally will get that. Like, I get like some packets of not necessarily ramen. It's like this other stuff. It's like what is it, like teriyaki chicken or something like that. A couple like container might be like $1.30. I get like a couple of those packets of the tuna or whatnot. I just cook it together and like that's my meal. Like that's my protein.
Yeah.
Like that's what I eat for real, and be fine with it. Season it up, make it special.
Saute a little spinach,
Yeah.
put some broccoli or something, and then throw that in there, and I'll be good to go.
And back to what you said, I do the same thing too. Like instead of, I stay with my cousin and my sister. So like, we got apartments stuff like that. So like our refrigerator and like the biggest. So it's like it's 3 different people. We don't necessarily like cook together. So it's like we all have our own stuff. So it's only so much I can buy to be fair to everybody else to have a room. So like I kind of do the same thing where it's like I'll just get enough food for like the next week or so.
Yeah.
And like that's pretty much it. So I don't ever really buy like groceries in bulk like that.
Yeah.
I just make sure it's like, okay, I know what I can do with this. Like if I get some ground beef, make some spaghetti, that might be like lunch and dinner for like maybe 2 days or something like that, or just mix it out with other stuff. But like that's really what I do. But I still have bad spending habits as far as like just buying food, even like eating out and stuff like that. I'm a fat ass, so it's kind of bad.
I just went to Popeyes, knowing full well.
Yeah.
I'm about
Yeah, it be stuff like that.
Well, I think, and also in our generation, it was so like readily or easily available to us, Whereas, in our parents' generation, like they grew up cooking all the time. They always had like a home cook. Like with us, we always had access to. Well, I know for me, I always had access to like going out or ordering something online,
even just fast food.
Yeah. So I think that comes into play with that, with why we eat out and spend out a lot. But yeah, like I said, you know how much you eat a week, or at least for 5 days, and just kind of start from there. But I wouldn't. I don't buy in bulk, and I don't stash all this shit in my place. For one, I don't want it to go to waste because I know me. I'll get tired of it, and then I'm like, I don't want this food, and then it's just sitting there, and I'm gonna go out somewhere, and the next thing you know, like all of it's spoiled.
Right.
I didn't waste it all in money.
Yeah. That's what I have an issue with. Honestly, like the main thing I will waste, unfortunately, like bread and milk.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Like because I don't know, it's just like I don't just be eating sandwiches like that. So it'll just be easy for me to mess around and be like a week go by and I don't even touch the bread after buying it. And then even the same thing for milk. So like I don't just, especially working, like I don't eat cereal unless like, I love cereal, but it's like a weekend thing for me.
They need to make that lactate milk in smaller containers.
I was just about to say, just get smaller containers, but you can't get that.
Yeah, it's only half gallon of gallons for that lactate milk. And that's what gets me, because, like, I'll have a little milk in my, like, I'll drink, like, coffee in the morning, or I'll, like, cook with milk. and stuff, but I don't usually just like drink it. So usually, like half the thing ends up going bad.
Yeah.
So that's another question. And like, how do you suggest that one could better grocery shop then? Because I know a lot of times growing up, my grandma didn't like buying like the Kroger brands of anything. So, but when I'm with my dad, if you open up those cabinets, they all say great value.
Yeah.
And coming from her household and then going back home, I'd rather be at my granny's house because I don't like there is a certain taste to certain things for me.
Yeah.
So,
And that's fine. If I too, I do the same thing. So you incorporate that into your budget, and you be like, okay, I don't want the great value, so I'm gonna pay $2 extra or $1 extra on the other brand, and you factor that in, and that's just your grocery expenses. It may just be more expensive than the other person that's paying the great value.
okay. And I'm asking questions that I'm trying to remember that everybody has asked me leading up to this. How do you get yourself out of a financial rut? Like, so say if like your account is negative, how, like we all know, like once the check replenishes your account, you're good. But how do you make sure that you are able to still save? Like if you have more bills coming out after that check comes in and your account is negative, or I think I'm asking this the right way. How do you
So you're
basically
saying
stay
if
on
you
top?
have more expenses than you have income that's coming,
Right.
that's when you going you going total shutdown mode, meaning you're not spending no money on anything else other than you focusing on expenses. And then at that point, you're focusing on the most important expense. So you know you got to live somewhere. So you start there. I gotta at least lay my head. My lights may be off, but at least I can like be in the dark in my apartment. You know. So like you prioritize that way. You may have to cut your phone off for a month, or whatever is the most important to you. So say you have your internet, phone, um, electricity expenses, and rent. Okay, I need to pay my rent because I don't want to be out on the street. Not electricity, phone, and what else?
You said electricity, phone.
I know for me, I'm gonna want to have hot water,
Oh,
so I'm gonna have I'll cut the internet off for a while, and I'm just gonna be. I mean, we have our phone. If you have enough to spend on your phone, you just use your data on your phone.
See, I would do the opposite. I would let that phone go. Because that internet, you can still use your phone if you got Wi-Fi. You just can't use it.
Yeah.
You
You
gonna
can't
be a
use it
Wi-Fi
while you're on
warrior?
the street. You said what?
You gonna be a Wi-Fi warrior?
Have been.
But we all have been.
Yeah,
I'm not.
like that. Then what else options you got?
But this is neither here nor there. I understand. What I was saying was though, like I hear what both y'all saying because I'm with you. I would let the Wi-Fi go before I let my phone go. But I also am with Trey because
Yeah.
I have been in that situation where I've had to be a Wi-Fi warrior within my own household.
Because
And
this
so
is something to know about Apple. Even if like you let your phone go, or at least what I found with Apple. I don't know if they still do this because this was back when I first started working here. The phone bill was a little hard to take care of sometimes. And I would, I was on a plan with family, and it was like the bill would get paid, but I might have run out of data. And so I would let that data go. And so like I couldn't use my phone if I was out and about. But the essentials on your phone, Apple would still let you use. And so I could still use my maps because I just moved up here. And so I was like, I need to be able to get around.
that's one thing I learned. If you start your maps inside the house, it'll still work to where you just can't get off track. Now, the moment you get off track, you SOL until you get back on track.
And so maps I was still able to use. So yeah, I would let that I would let that data go.
I did not know you could do that.
That's when my mom wanted to say she ain't she wasn't covering me no more, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I would just say you prioritize what's more important to you. But like I said off top, you gotta have a place to live. Now, if you can't afford to pay your rent, it's okay for you to say, be real with yourself and just be like, I can't pay this rent. Maybe I need to stay with a friend for X amount of weeks. You know, we all live in this life and we all have our struggles. We all go through like ruts, and sometimes that'll happen, you know. So give yourself grace and permission to like just go with that if that's the outcome. But going back to like budgeting, if and when you have like these other little savings here and there, then you setting yourself up for success to the point where you won't be in those situations, you know. But yeah, just it's a lot of like adjusting, moving around. It's a lot of up and downs until you find your footing, and then but you start small. It's just like working out. Like I equate that to like work. Like you don't expect to like make a full body change in like 6 months. You know, like it takes time, and it also depends on how aggressive you want to save too. Like if you want to be really aggressive and you shut yourself off from the world and you just want to stash. Some people do that. Some people be like, I'm not doing shit for the next 6 months to a year because I'm trying to buy a house, and then they save like they want to save 30,000, 40,000 in a year's time. And they don't. I know some people that do that, and they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. Stay at home, and then that next year they can have, they can have a down payment for a home. So it's just what's important to you, how aggressive you want to save. I mean, it's a lot. That's a lot of money, but
I like to be seen.
okay. Yeah. So, I was gonna say something. Any more questions?
Please feel free to ask.
Feel free.
Can you tell us, you had started to, but then you went into something else. Can you tell us what the conversation was like with your mom after you moved back from New York?
So, damn, I was 25 at the time. So originally I went to New York because I had gotten accepted to Manhattan School of Music, and that was the school that I really, really wanted to go to. And mid-flight, no lie, true story. My mom was with me in flight, and I said, "What if I said I didn't want to go to grad school now?" She was like, "What?" Because I was afraid of taking out so much student loans because they didn't give me a good scholarship package, and so that was like just weighing on me. I was like, "I'm not going to pay all this money." And so mid-flight, she told me, she's like, "Well, you ought to stand up there." So she made me stay up in New York. I lived with my cousin for a few months. Ended up moving back. Came back and was living at home. And you young, you thinking, "Oh, I got it made. I'm staying at home." I got my little job because I was working at the mall. I was working at the Gap at the time. I was like making my little spending money, going out doing what I wanted to do. And she pulled me to the side one day and she was like, "So, what's your plan?" And I said, "What you mean, what's my plan?" And she was like, "You're not staying here forever." And I was like, "What you talking about?" And and also I'm the only child, so like I'm already spoiled, And so I was just like dumbfounded. I was like, the gall. You telling me I gotta like get up out of here? And she was for real. I thought she was playing at first. And she was like, "No, yeah, we're gonna have a sit down and we're gonna figure out a plan because you can't stay here." So after maybe a week or so, she and my stepdad pulled me into the dining room and they drafted a whole contract. No lie, a full blown contract, which had like what I need to do, when I need to do it, I need to move out X date. And it was like a legit date. There was like, what year was this?
It would have been 2012, 2013, yeah.
She said, you got to be out of here by 2013, fall 2013. And I think it was like August. And they knew that I was wanting to go to grad school. So she was like, so right now you need to start like looking at grad schools. You need to start applying, auditioning. But by August 2013, you got to be out of here. And I was so upset with her for the longest. I just thought that like they didn't love me. And I was, I really did. I was like, y'all don't love me, and y'all just want to throw me out on the street.
He was mad at the world.
I
y'all.
was.
Like, he came to church just like, what?
Yeah, I was so upset. And so, but I ended up getting my act together, and I had to do it. So I ended up auditioning and applying for schools, and that's how I ended up here. And Ashley Trey helped me out because that's how I found out about SMU. I didn't know anything about SMU before here. But I now tell her I'm very appreciative because she knew her son. She knew that I was going to be at the house forever because I had it made. I was spoiled. She did everything for me. So if it wasn't for that, I probably still would have been, if not at their home in Beaumont, just wasting away and not doing, So sometimes you need that little kick, man. I mean, and then your parents know. There's some children, they be ready to get out of the house and they don't want to stay at home. I had it made. I was like, I could come and go as I please. I didn't have no curfew.
It was me.
Really? Yes.
At 19, I moved out because in Nebraska, you can get your first apartment at 19.
Yeah.
So 18 and a half, I was already scouting. Well, at 18, I was already looking at apartments. By time midway through, I had already knew what apartment I wanted to move into.
Yeah.
And so by 19, I just did it.
See, that's dope.
To an extent. No, because, and the reason why I say that is because, like, I was doing it more so out of spite because just like your parents did, my dad said if I didn't go to college, then I was going to be paying bills. And so in my young mind, I was like, well, if I'm paying bills at your house, but you still got all these rules, I might as well just get my own place. And so when I did it, I moved in. I think I moved in on a Friday. I can't remember what day I moved in. I just remember I moved in. All I had was my clothes, a carpet cleaner, and a dish rag, honestly. And I vacuumed my apartment every day. And so, but I say that to say, like, I wish I could have, like, kind of did, like, how
What
your
were you vacuuming? You ain't have nothing.
Exactly. I just felt good to have my own apartment. And so eventually what ended up happening though is my dad ended up seeing like how much my apartment meant to me. And so it started slowly coming along, but that's where I know like I started having my youngest but biggest financial problems. Like that's when I did get my first credit card because I was working at the credit union at that time. So I was not only spending my rent check, but I was also spending that money also. I had a fresh new car. I had a 2013 Dodge Dart. And so I was paying that, the car note, rent, then forgot that lights was a thing for people. And then I didn't know that they were going to like tax in water with the apartment. Like I didn't know like how everything formulated. And so once I started understanding all of that, that's when I did what you just said was like the whole survival or disciplinary mode. So that's where I did come up with like lazy day. So I started my own cleaning service, but at the same time, I started noticing that money still wasn't doing enough for me for what I needed. And I think at that time, like my apartment, that was a good time. So that's when my apartment was like $635, but to an 18-year-old, that's $1,000.
Yeah.
That's $1,200. So I still was not in that space, but I am thankful that I actually went through that to now know like start really taking care of this shit.
There's moments like that. I mean, life teaches, and we just have to be willing to learn. I mean, another thing, going back, that whole contract thing, another thing my mom she did, and this is what did it for me. She started charging me rent to live at home, at my house, well, their house. But I was like, and I had to pay monthly. I think it was like $250 a month, and I was just so upset with it because I was like, how dare you charge me rent? So and unbeknownst to me, when I moved out and I moved here, and I moved into my second apartment, because my first apartment, I was like, I need money to like furnish this place. She saved that money, and that was like basically me paying for my furnishings at home. Like she was just taking that saving because she knew me that I was just gonna spend it on, and so. And she told me this after the fact. Like I didn't even know that. So that was another thing that that she did. But like going back to what you said, like life you teach you.
Life be life.
And yeah, it does. It does. And you just have to be willing to like sit in it and learn from it.
So when you're dealing with a partner, how do you think like you guys should compromise finances in that sense?
That's a good question. I have never lived with a partner before. I haven't gotten to that place just because I like to have my own place. I mean, I like to be with me and him be over there and we go back and forth until I get to a place where I'm like, okay, we can be in the same. But I haven't been there, so I can't really answer that. I would say you split bills, or one takes like the if you have a home, the mortgage, you pay the expenses. I mean, I've heard different scenarios.
Stay in your own place.
And I would say it's also different for him because most of his significant relationships have been long distance.
True.
And so while it's not sharing bills for like the house or the apartment or something like that, it is negotiating, okay, well, I'm going to come and see you, you're going to come and see me. So that money is still being spent.
Yeah.
It's just trying to navigate, so like if they're coming and staying with him for, a couple of days or something like that, are you taking care of food while they're there, while they're traveling, stuff like that?
That's true.
Y'all splitting the plane ticket?
This last, I wouldn't even call it really, like we were at the cusp, but we were traveling back and forth. And I work from home, he worked remote as well, so we were able to travel back and forth at a week's time. So I would go to him, he lived in Miami, I would stay with him in Miami for a week, he would come here for a week, and whoever was traveling, the other would pay like the other expenses. So like if he was here, I would pay for if we went out to eat, or I would cook, and it would basically be me.
Okay.
Now sometimes he just wanted to pay, and I wasn't gonna fight him, so I'd be like, all right,
Don't do that. Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
I would still be, but I knew if he was coming, I would pay, and then vice versa. Like I went over there, he paid for everything. So it worked out pretty well in that regard. So, and then you kind of just, when it comes with a partner, like you kind of just work things out together, and whatever works for you. Whoever makes the most, maybe they pay like the big bills, and you pay the.
Yeah, that's per relationship.
Yeah.
Because any relationship I'm gonna be in, it's gonna be equitable, not equal. Because I cannot, me personally, again, my eyesight. Y'all don't come for me in whatever comments or whatever. For me, I cannot wrap my mind around like like I work nonprofit, and I get a nonprofit kind of check. Okay, I can only afford so much, and will only until I become a CEO of a nonprofit. I can only afford so much. So, if we get to that point, and you're trying to live a high life because you have this nice paying job, it's going. Well, I'll have my place that I can afford. Or if you want us to live together, then that rent needs to be equitable because you want us living here and I can't afford it. I'm not about to break my bank just to try and keep up with you. Right. And so that's why I say equitable, not equal. And I just like I've dated somebody, the person that I said that I bought the jacket for. Like there was a purpose. Like I bought it for him because he was transient at the time. He didn't have his own place. He was between staying way up north with his mom, or he was down here where he worked, couch surfing, or he was staying with me. And if I wanted us to like go out, you know, like to dinner or a date or something, I wasn't like I was planning on paying for him if I wanted us to go somewhere. And I made sure that I had that and it wasn't like breaking a bank for me. So it wasn't all the time. But whenever I could, I was doing that because I knew that he didn't have it. And he would do for me what he could. Like I was joking, like I said, yeah, I bought it and then he dumped me. I gave him an ultimatum and he just didn't choose me. But I was the one that forced the choice, right? He did get me a Christmas gift as well. And while mine I will consider was thoughtful, it wasn't something that he asked for. I just knew he needed it because it was winter. And he was going to be out in the streets. And I knew I was planning on, like, it was probably going to be coming to an end. And he wasn't going to have me to stay with. And so he might have had to stay in his car sometimes. So I was like,
so
let
you
me get him
prepared him
something.
with the jacket?
Yes. But he got me a gift.
Why you just give him a little old Navy B-coat?
Because I wanted, because if we were going to be together, I wanted him to look nice with me.
They nice.
Never buy a man a pair of shoes. Never buy a man a jacket.
He got me some heels that I still wear to this day. Okay, I still wear it.
I said man.
Huh?
I said man. You're
Oh
male.
yeah, that's true. That is true. But he did get me a Christmas gift as well, and that's ultimately why I went ahead because I was debating was I gonna get it for him. But he had showed up to work one day, and he just had the Christmas gift. Like we hadn't said that we were gonna be exchanging anything, and the gift that he got me, he had a denim cap that he wore all the time, and so. Like I complimented him on it one time, and in a whole different conversation, we're talking about. We had this conversation in like May, and he remembered in December, and it was about fashion and clothing. Every year, I try something new, fashion wise, and so I'll get a couple of different things, or a couple of different looks based around that, and. For years, I've had issues like with my body, and I was like, had done some work to get over that, and I was like, no, I want to celebrate my body, so I want to wear crop tops, and I was never like comfortable with that before, and so I was like, just passing in the car one day, we were just talking about clothes and stuff, and I was like, yeah, next year I want to wear like crop tops, like I want to force myself to get comfortable in my body, you know, all this other stuff and everything. Hadn't bought one at all since, wasn't even thinking about it. And he showed up because he wound up getting a second job at some store. And they had these like crop tops, and it was where he got the denim cap from that he got in the first place. And so he bought me a black denim cap to match the cap that he wore. And he bought me my first like crop top that wasn't one that I just like cut up myself, but it was actually like a legit. It was a Tommy Hilfiger crop top, and like I said, it was from a random conversation like 6 months before, but like it showed that he like listened to me, and that's what he could afford, and and it, oh my gosh, it broke. I was like, maybe this is my man, and like that's all I got today, and all this other stuff and everything. But I wised up because we needed to either be together or not. We didn't need to be doing what we were doing anymore because it wasn't healthy for either of us. So that's why I say something equitable. He didn't have to come in with some big statement to let me know that he cared about me. Like what he got, and like he got it with a discount on top of that. And so, but he did what he could, but it meant the world to me.
Oh,
And so, that's why I say, for me and mine, it's equitable over equal.
that brings me to my next thing. Thank you so much for that, Trey. Someone had asked earlier in the week, is signing up for rewards a really important thing, and is couponing really a good thing to do?
Rewards. I mean, I do rewards. I'll say for me, yeah, I do rewards because it's like a little prize, especially like with Express. I shop at Express. So I get my little $20 reward on my little 46.
Right now.
I got one too. So I mean, there's no harm in it. I mean, now if you're just doing it because you're trying to rack up, like I don't do it because I'm trying to rack up. It's just like a surprise for me. Like my little $20 or whatever. Coupons. I ain't afraid of using a coupon. I use coupons at CVS all the time. Like actually, I just put one on my card today. So listen, wherever you want, and I used to make fun of those people when I was young. I'd be like, you use a coupon. I use my coupon. The older you get, yeah. And I'm 37 going to 38, so I use my coupon. It's nothing wrong with that. If wherever you can find a discount, use them discounts. It's nothing, don't let anyone like shame you into. Did you use a coupon? Yes, gift cards too. Wherever I don't have to spend my own money. So yeah, I use all of it.
Do you have any questions for us at all, Quintin?
No, I think this was good. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed your input. Actually, this helped me a lot, and because as I was preparing, it reminded me of some things that I need to really. Actually, now I'm I'm considering getting a new car, and the kind of car I want. I know it's an expensive one. So, I had a talk with my mom, and so another thing she told me, well, here's another thing. So she told me, before you even consider buying a new car, take what you think your monthly bill would be and stash that, and see if you can survive by putting that, by taking that money out and just stashing it for at least 6 months. And if you can't survive with that, then you can afford a new car. If you can't, you ain't ready for that type of car. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that, but that was wise. So I'm on month 2. And I'm pretty good. So if I can make it. And then also, buying a car, you have to also consider like maintenance costs. And so if you're going to get a luxury car, like that's a whole nother that's almost a whole nother bill, like maintenance fees. So that's something that's in my personal life where I'm considering either that or moving. So I don't want to do both at the same time. I always try to like ease in one or the other. So either I'm going to move or I'm going to get a new car. Where are we moving to? I'm going to stay here. I said I was thinking about Houston, but I think I'm going to stay here. I just want a bigger apartment. I'm moving with you. Come on, honey.
Rob, do y'all have any questions for Quintin?
Yeah, have any questions? Anything? No. Anything that you learned or that you think that you can take home? It can be one thing that you think that.
Mine is don't be scared of a credit card now. Honestly.
I have a credit card.
Let me use it.
Huh?
So let me use it.
No, because I have funds on there.
Exactly. I need to
Like
use
I've only used them for like certain situations.
I can help you.
Don't get you one of them store credit cards, like an express credit card or something. Don't do it.
I almost had a Forever 21.
Don't do it.
Well, and then also whenever you consider a credit card, get a credit card that has
I'm still paying that thing off.
a reasonable APR. Because
What's the highest APR that you should cap? Because I think the Forever 21, if I'm not mistaken, I just looked at it recently.
a 16% one is high. So like, that's actually my Chase card. 16%. It's high.
They got me signed up for one time. It was 20%.
Really?
Ah, dumb.
Oh.
33.24.
Yeah, that's high.
Once that first
Yeah.
Do
once
you have
that
any
first
specialized credit cards that
I
you would
broke that
recommend?
thing out.
'Cause I've been thinking about getting like an American Airlines one where like the more you spend, like you get miles and stuff like that. So do you have any that you
Actually, I was considering that just because I was
traveling a lot?
traveling. I've started traveling a lot now. I was thinking about that. I don't see why not. I would say for your first, if you don't have a credit card and you want to get like your first one, a bank credit card is a good start. Because typically they're not at like the interest rate isn't as high as like some of the others. That's if you start out if you don't have credit. But yeah, I don't see why not. Like specialty ones, as long as you know what you're getting into and you know like how much the APR rate is, and if you know that you can pay it off as you spend, then yeah. And that's with any credit. I'm like, you can get a credit card that has a high APR, just as long as you know that you can pay it off as you. And that's what I do. Like like I said, I have two credit cards, and I have the Apple credit card just because, for one, I thought it was cute. I was like, oh, it's this titanium card. But I use that only for travel. So like, I went to Houston last weekend, and I rented a car, and I used my Apple card because I just wanted to spend that, just charge that on my Apple card, and then soon as it charged, like maybe the next day, I just paid it off because I already had the money, but I just wanted to use that because I want to like build my credit. So as long as you know you can pay it, you can have almost any card. Just be disciplined and don't fall in that hole where you're like, oh, I got $10,000 on this credit card. I can just swipe because it's so easy to swipe. Like how Trey said, leave that card at home. Because that's what they want you to do. They want you to get in the hole, and then you just climb.
Another thing
Got me.
that I think is really important is not comparing your journey with your finances with other people, especially the people that are around you. Because different life choices, different careers, like it'll mean different things. Like we talk about some of the same stuff budgeting and have. Like I've learned a lot just from like talking with him over the years. But how, like he said, once he has, spent that money that he has to spend, and he says that he's broke, his broke and my broke is two different things. Because I'm in nonprofit, and he's not. He's in the private sector. And this is my ace boncon. That's my big brother. And so, like over the years, like our friendship has had to like understand, I can't always take a trip. I can't always, do this and do that and everything. But like we can maintain our friendship because we can understand what each other has without any like resentments building up, without pressuring each other to like do this and that and everything. And that's one of the reasons why I really respect and love him, because I was never made to feel like less than because I couldn't afford something. You know, because I was just doing what I can. But it's not always easy. Like we got one of our group chats from our friend group from back in Beaumont. We're all black, we're all gay, we're all singers, and so like we all keep up with each other, and they all got into stuff sooner that was making them more money. And me, I was making when I started was $16 an hour here, and they, you know, we'd be talking about, oh, well, let's go do a trip, because like right before he moved up here, we did that Disney trip.
Oh yeah.
Or that Orlando trip. We didn't go to Disney. Yeah, we did Orlando and Miami. And so like we did that. And so for years after that, it was like, oh, let's do another trip. And they would all get mad at me because as soon as everybody's like, yeah, let's do a trip, I'm like, okay, next year. now wait, we tried, and they would get mad at me. They're like, you ain't serious, and I'm like, I'm dead serious. I just can't afford. Like I need time to be able to save that, because you know, once I wasn't living in a place where rent was $400, most of my income went to having a place to lay my head. And so we had to realize like what we could do and what we couldn't. You know, I'm just now getting to a place where I'm like, okay, maybe I can plan a little vacation. You know, maybe I can do a little thing and not have to be like, okay, well, I gotta wait, you know, 12 to 13 months before I can go and be comfortable without it, you know, cutting into any of the other expenses that I might have. You know, and that takes discipline to be able to say, no, I'm not going to go and do this thing that all of my friends are able to do.
And you know, and it's okay. And to your point, it's okay to say, bitch, I ain't got it. I don't have the money. Y'all go out. Because I've been there where I can't go out, you know, especially when I first moved here. I was like a student. I wasn't making shit. Like, I was on a student income. I was surviving. And I was eating off the school. So I really was. I didn't have anything. So there were many times I'm like, I don't have no money. I was wearing rags. I couldn't get a week. And then I grew up getting like a haircut once a week. I couldn't get a haircut. Like, I was just discombobulated. Rag. Look at my Facebook, them old pictures back in. I was wearing
sweats all the time.
Sweat,
that light blue hoodie.
Right. So, but it's okay to like say, and I know we live in a time where you want. There are a lot of people out there that they want to like keep up with the Joneses, but there are many people that they perpetrate. They're not really living that life like it appears, you know. So, like Trey said, you know, you do what works for you, and with this whole budget thing, like take baby steps. I'm not saying that you have to do a complete overhaul of your finances. It's little things here and there that'll help you, and if you don't have it, you don't have it, and that's fine. Yeah, like I said, give yourself grace. It's just, at least you're trying, and you're trying to like be a better you financially. But yeah, many times.
Like personally, like for me, something that I feel like works is like when I know that I'm wanting to do certain things, I tell people around me like, oh, I'm saving up for this, or I'm doing this, and if it's like a group thing where we're all doing the same thing, we kind of like hold each other like kind of like, are you sure you want to do that? Is they gonna stop you from being on track? You know, it's like we kind of hold. It's like I guess our financial accountability partners.
Yeah.
You know, so that works for me. Anytime that I want to do something, and you know, I maybe like, for instance, I really wanted to save money. I know because I know when I would go out drinking, I would spend hundreds of dollars.
She's a good time.
I was spending hundreds of dollars, on just one night.
Yeah.
And it had got to a point where I was like, let me stop drinking. I didn't do it, but, people were like, well, you stop drinking. And, some people thinking because they feel like I felt like I had a problem, but there wasn't it. It was just I was wanting to do something very specific, and it involved cutting something out that I was just wasting money on. And so I stopped drinking for like almost 2 months, and I was able to do what I needed to do. So yeah, and every time I would like think about, oh, I'm gonna get a drink, Camille, no, or D'Angelo, no, not her. She was trying to steal a drink.
Wow.
But so it's like I just feel like that's a good way to kind of like maneuver. It's like to have somebody that you can trust and that confide in, and like I'm not doing it as good. Yeah. Just be able to vent to. It's like, but that's in any situation, but definitely financially as well. So
that's a. I was gonna say having somebody to hold you accountable. Whenever I first moved up here, because I had traveled plenty of times, but I never lived away from home before moving up here. And so I actually added my mom onto one of my bank accounts. And I set notifications for if I spent anything over $100, or if my account got below a certain amount. I set up notifications so it would send it to me and her so that I would be embarrassed. so that she would also be like, did you need to spend that? What's the return policy?
Right.
And like, but it was like that. She was holding me accountable in case I needed it. And there were some times where it was like, damn, she don't need my business.
Yeah.
That's really how I think about it, because Trey has met my mom. Sam's met my mom before too, and so she's very outspoken, and so she is now on a new wave of trying to get her financial life together. And so among that, it's involving me and my brother. So she sends us like little YouTube videos like almost every other day, elaborating on like what we should do, stuff like that. But then what takes me out is she'll ask us to do like what Trey just said, and I can't have neither in my finances because it's different. It's like when your parents start really, and it could benefit, but at the same time, like as an adult, like no. So
I get that, but it goes back to what Trey. It's like you do what works for you, or what you think that would help you in navigating, your finance. I mean, I did the same thing. Alicia, anytime I spend like over $100, quick text. She's like, so what you buying? Like it was like clockwork. And especially when I was a struggling student, I overdraft many times. Like I wasn't always like disciplined with finances. I would be spending money and I would overdraft, and she would come, Chris, now you overdraft, and give me a whole lot. So I hadn't been there.
I think it started with things that I would do to get around that. There was one time I would take out, I started taking out cash regularly and be like, oh, this is just what I'm going to be using.
Oh, yeah.
Or I would save some, I would use it, but I would save like $5 each time. There was one time I took a friend to one of the sex shops, and I was like, oh, that's a nice little toy. And so I just saved like $5 every time I went to the bank to pull some money out.
You say for that toy?
I wasn't gonna put that on that card. My mama on there.
Martha, she wouldn't have.
She knew. The only thing that would have made it if she wouldn't have looked too close, because it was that one over there on Mockingbird called New Fine Arts. And, being a music,
it
she would have been like, oh,
no
music done. I'm like, I made some music.
I can see your mama saying that too. Like, oh, that's
You
my
singing
mom
again?
would say that too.
You singing again?
Yeah.
I made a joyful noise.
Oh my God.
I did that.
I'm gonna close this out.
Oh, but to your point, what you said, that's a good example of, like you said, you wasn't spending that as much on drinking because you had something in mind that you. That's a good example of sinking fund. So like that, a sinking fund is. I want to go on, I want to go to Cabo for vacation next summer. So I'm gonna curb some of these expenses that I'm gonna stash for this vacation. That would be a sinking. Something that's very specific. You saving for something.
Well,
But yeah.
I appreciate you, Quintin. We all do.
No.
Thank you so much for coming out and spending time and telling us your tips, giving us some advice. Again, this is all recorded, so even if you want to go back and watch it for yourself, you can. But we here at UB thank you. So we are going to close this.
Well, thank you for having me. When Trey texted and asked me this,